Hello, everyone. Welcome to Back Chat. Welcome to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community. Sorry about that. We're a little bit late. Had a few technical issues, but we think we're good now. So fingers crossed, technology is on our side today. So if you are here live, make sure you use the chat. You come and say hello. I have a very special guest today, and I will bring her on in a moment. But you'll love to hear her story. She's got a severe scoliosis herself, and she's going to talk to us about her yoga practice and how she's helping her students, obviously now as well, that have scoliosis. But before I bring her on, let me just see who's here already. We've got Ishita is saying hello, Christine. Laura is saying hello from Argentina. We missed you in the class today, Laura. Glynis is here saying hello. Good, lovely. Thank you so much, everyone who's joining us live every week. It really, really means a lot to me. And if ever you miss this, you know that you can watch this the recording afterwards. It's also on your Apple podcast app. So that's why I upload those podcasts as well. So you can just listen to them in the car or wherever you are, of course. So make sure you subscribe to that as well. Hi, Julie Bean is saying hello. Pat is here. Pat was here in the class today. Nice to see you. And obviously, welcome to all of our new Shine members. Isn't it amazing? We've got so many new members. So it's really lovely to see all of you join and getting into your yoga for scoliosis practice as well. Just before we get started as well, in January, 16th of January, I've got my yoga for scoliosis practice transformation course coming up. Let me just bring it on. So this is a 4-module online course that you can register for now. You will see the link in the description below, and it's just a great way of getting into your practice, maybe learning a little bit more about your scoliosis. If you don't know where to start, this is kind of a great way into the topic, finding out what your curve pattern is, what you can do, how you can adjust your poses and all of that. That's what you're going to learn in this course. Good. I can see 14 of you being here live, which is fantastic. Good. And I can see Priya is saying, hello, Christine. I also have severe scoliosis with pain and discomfort. So perfect little transition. Let me bring on Hend. And I was trying to say her name properly, but I didn't succeed. I said Hend Wahsh. Wash?
Yes.
No.
Hi, Christine, and hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having me with you and part of this beautiful community. It's really an honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time as well. And tell everyone where you are in the world.
I'm in Egypt. I'm from Egypt. In Cairo.
In Cairo, yes. Okay, good. Yes, and I've recently seen there's a lot more people from Egypt actually getting interested in yoga for scoliosis. So that might be your doing. So thank you for that. Thank you for raising awareness, obviously, as well in your country.
Yeah, definitely. Before I started the yoga for scoliosis and before I started to really talk out loud about it, I thought that I might have been the only one, only very few people who have it, and I was amazed by how many people reach out to me because they needed help and they wanted some guidance. So yeah, we have a lot of people with scoliosis in Egypt.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Okay. Well, why don't we kind of go straight into your story? Would you mind kind of telling us, when were you first diagnosed and where did it all begin and how did you find your way into yoga?
Sure. It was discovered when I was 11 years old. I had a protruded shoulder and no one really understood what's happening. So when I went to the doctor and they did X-rays, and everybody was acting as if there's something abnormal, and they were talking as if I have a disease. It's like, yeah, you have a curved spine, and I couldn't really understand what it means. And in order for me, maybe for them to let me understand, they told me, yeah, you have a missing rib, so that's why you have your spine is curved. And until recently, this is what I was really believing in. So this was at the age of 11, and for me, it was a really traumatic experience. It wasn't as severe as now. So when I asked, we sent the X-rays to several doctors. Some of them recommended that I do surgery, but others said it's not necessary, and there are no vital organs at risk. So it's really not. It's okay to live like that. But I didn't get the proper guidance. So people told me you can swim, and that's it. They didn't tell me to do something. And regarding the brace, I was really not okay with it, so I didn't do any brace. And then by the age of 28, I started to do yoga. I didn't also, it was general yoga, it wasn't yoga for scoliosis. And it made me feel better because after class, I feel like I'm getting taller. And I used to have a lot of pain, discomfort, and if I walk a lot, I get a lot of pain. And I also used to hide it. So back when I started yoga, if the class is full and I only have a space at the beginning of the class, I was like, okay, no, I take my stuff and leave. Because I felt there's something wrong and I didn't want anyone to see it. But then, bit by bit, I started to gain confidence. And I think this is because yoga is not about competition. So when you practice yoga, it's only you and the mat. So there's no one. And the more I practice, the more I notice that nobody really cares, and it's all in my head. Because I was really afraid of how people would look at me if they see a little difference in my back. But actually, when I started now talking about it, people are telling me, Hend, some people would tell me, Hend, we don't know except when you said you have something. But before that, it's not that obvious. So yeah, I started yoga, but there was something in me that tells me there's something not right, because sometimes I attend classes and the classes would be, it was okay, I feel taller and I feel I can breathe better, but some other classes I would feel like I'm twisted and crooked. So I didn't quite understand why, until I started with you the introduction. You were the first one to introduce me to yoga for scoliosis. I did with you the 4-week workshop. And I started really to understand what's happening in the muscles and how to adjust my practice, even if it was very basic postures. But this was like the foundation that guided me through other postures. Like I do a lot of advanced postures, and I do practice more dynamic practice than the restorative, of course, but this was the foundation for me that guided me into understanding why when I attend some classes, why when I do some postures, not in the correct way, I don't feel good about them afterwards. Yeah, so.
Yes, yeah, and really, you know, I love that you're saying this. You know, they're very so Hend obviously did the 4 weeks practice transformation that I was talking about earlier, and they are quite simple poses, but then once you understand what you're doing, you can kind of translate this into your own practice, right? And you're obviously practicing Ashtanga yoga, and as you said, you know, there are some advanced, very difficult poses obviously in there, but you can take those principles now and apply them everywhere. So just before we continue, I just wanted to show everyone with your permission what we are talking about here. So when you were saying that, you know, people sometimes don't realize that you have scoliosis, they're like, well, what are you on about? I can't see anything. But I'm just going to bring up the X-ray here. So this is it a 90-degree curve, or what does it say here?
I'm not sure, because there are
different measurements, aren't they?
Yeah, the measurement is incorrect because they didn't take it from the right vertebrae. So
No.
I'm not sure about the curve degree. Because I can't get someone to measure it correctly, but it's definitely not 39 as they mentioned here.
No. I would say this is more like a like a 90 degree or something like that, or even more. I don't know. You would have to kind of go
it has to be properly measured.
Measure it properly. So we're not talking about a mild scoliosis here. We're talking about a very significant curvature, obviously. So tell us a little bit more about, you were saying obviously that so you were quite conscious of the way it looks, isn't it? So so how did this affect you?
At the younger age, of course, it affected me a lot because as you grow up, you want to look perfect and all of that. So I started to let my head grow long so I can hide it in my back. And I couldn't do any kind of sports activity because because also this is what I want to raise awareness on, because some people would come to you and like, what do you have in your back? Do you have an extra bone? This is really ridiculous. Yeah, you have to really have this, I don't know what it's called, but decency to know how to approach someone who has something different. So this is not how you approach someone with scoliosis. And even in yoga, some teachers would come to me and what do you have here? And they get this faces that this is not how you approach someone with scoliosis, because I'm already here, I'm on the mat and I'm doing the effort. And there's nothing wrong if you have scoliosis. This doesn't mean that you have something that doesn't allow you to do stuff, because I can do a lot of poses. I'm strong, and I know a lot of people who have scoliosis and they go into competition, maybe Olympics. Some of them are in the Olympics with scoliosis. So it's not something that you would say, look at and just look away or just stop what you're doing. And actually, because I now teach yoga for scoliosis, so some people would come to me with their kids. They just discovered this first, and they tell me he plays or she plays gymnastics, but once we discovered that she has scoliosis, the trainer refused to have her in the team because he's afraid. And this really breaks my heart, because this is something that the girl loves to do, and with the proper guidance, she can actually achieve something in it. So Yes, I know what you mean. I had a client this week as well, and it's exactly that. The girl is 13, and the parents are worried, of course, and asking, can she do this? Can she do that? And can she continue doing her sports? And I said the worst thing that she can do is sit on her couch and not do anything, right? That's the worst thing. Yes, she can do all of that, especially if if they enjoy it, right? I'm a firm believer in doing what you enjoy, of course, as well. So let's talk a little bit more about your practice, of course. So you did the practice transformation, and then I think you did the course with Adeline as well. You certified as a teacher, teaching yoga for scoliosis. So how did this was 2 years ago, maybe? Yes.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
It was almost 2 years, early 2020.
2019. Was it 20? Yes.
20, yes.
20, yeah. I remember it was just
before the pandemic.
Just before the pandemic, exactly. I think we were in the course and we were starting to see face masks around on the tube and stuff like that. Everything was still a bit weird, but I remember that. So how did your practice kind of change from there on? What did you kind of
I stopped my regular practice for at least a good 3 months. So I get accustomed to the new adjustments for my curve. And because I didn't have a teacher with me face to face, so I had to videotape myself and just to check if I'm doing the adjustments correctly. And bit by bit, I started to feel more accustomed to the adjustments. And I honestly stopped doing any advanced poses for at the beginning, like headstand and mainly headstand. Because usually when I used to do it, I get a pain in my back afterwards. So I stopped it for a while, and I started to work more on my core and strengthening my core. And now I can actually, I went back to, not regular, but if I have like a class for Ashtanga, I would attend it. But I don't teach Ashtanga. I teach mainly Hatha Vinyasa, which is like the slower version of Vinyasa.
Yeah.
Because I like people to take time, and I like to take my time in the pose. I don't like to move fast, because this is what actually helps me to stay in the pose, feel the breath, notice the movement, notice the hips, because the hips, I discovered they have the mind of their own. You notice that your hips are moving, especially with scoliosis. Until now, I'm still discovering things about my body. It's like, the hips, they tend to move. If I'm moving like my shoulders up, or my knee up, I find my hip as well lifting with them. So I slowed down, and I'm teaching as well a very slow practice.
Mm-hmm. So you stripped it back a little bit. You slowed it down and took some poses out for a while. So are they back in? Are you doing headstands now?
Yeah, I do them, but usually back before I started the yoga for scoliosis, I would stay for like 10 to 15 breaths in the headstand. Now I only stay for like 4 to 5, because I love to be upside down. So I just stay for like 4 or 5 breathing, and then I go down, because I like the feeling afterwards, and it's beneficial, of course, for you. So I like to get the benefit, but until a certain limit.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So let me bring up your other picture that you were sharing with us, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this. So we've seen the Xray, I think, is, so we've got March 2020
around the same time,
September 2021. So it was kind of the start of your yoga for scoliosis journey, and then the very recent one. So we can see from an Xray perspective, there's not a huge amount that has changed really. But then when we look at this, talk to us about this.
So on the picture on the left, which is back in January, this picture I actually took before I went for the teacher training, and I was doing like a lot of effort to stand upright and just hide my protruded shoulder, and you can see that I can't really breathe well in this pose, but I'm trying my best to stay upright. And then in the second one, I took it like 2 months, in October. I was standing relaxed, and I tried to not to do anything for the adjustments. I just I want to stand and see how it is. And I was surprised actually when I placed them side by side, because as you can see, not only the scoliosis has improved, but also the posture. Like in the picture on the left, I have a very deep lordosis or hyperlordosis, and on the right, I'm more relaxed, and I can breathe better. And also the kyphosis has improved, because I have because of the severity of the curve.
Yeah.
I have a rounding of the shoulder, and I have the rotation, I think, might have gotten less.
Yes.
So this helps a little in the kyphosis on the upper back.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. clicking about here, but I'm hoping I'm not losing it. Okay. Yes. So what I was gonna say is what I think what is super important here to emphasize, and you said it, was that in the first one you were trying really hard.
Yeah.
In the first one you were trying to correct yourself, right? As best as you knew at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, you were not actually trying so hard, right? It kind of became your natural posture. So let me just bring it up again. And I think this is a very important point, because you see, obviously, on Instagram especially, and social media, you see a lot of before and after pictures, right? And then sometimes people say before the session and after the session, right? And and obviously we know that yes, you can correct certain things, right? I can stand in my scoliotic posture and I can come out of it, right? And I can do this within 2 seconds, right? I can do it straight away.
Yes.
But that doesn't give us a true picture. I think this is much more powerful. It gives us a much more that gives people a lot of hope, because I think it really shows that for you, this became your normal, right? This became your you don't have to try to.
Yeah, but I think what helps is that I'm really consistent in my practice. It's like, if I don't do like the 1 hour practice per day, I just have like few poses that are my favorite, and I like to do them before I sleep. So just to correct. And if I'm been standing for a long time, I know what to do. I know how to manage. And of course, sometimes there is pain because of the severity of the curve. But the good thing is now I can manage it. So I feel like I'm more in control rather than having the scoliosis in control of me. So yeah, it has really changed.
Yeah, beautiful. Really, really nice to see you. So you've got some fans here. So Hiba saying perfect and great work, raising awareness. Yes, absolutely. And I think it's so important about what you said earlier about, how we, being mindful of how we approach people that might look different in a way, or have something going on. And this obviously doesn't just go for scoliosis, but for other things as well, because there is already, it's not just what you see, it's all the things that you don't see, right? And you might be really hitting a nerve there and bringing up some trauma, obviously, that's or some definitely very strong emotions about this. So Glynis is saying, I'm 61 and have severe scoliosis, always in pain, trouble walking. Any words of advice for Glynis, maybe? Have you had any clients in that age bracket, like the over 60s? Or is it mainly younger ones that you work with?
No, I have a few clients who are older than 50, and what I would suggest is to work on a few poses that build strength around the core, because this is when you have the strong core, you'll be able to manage better.
Yes, absolutely, and it's the at that age, obviously everything starts, the discs start to become more compressed, and everything gets a little bit drier, and we're kind of, especially with that scoliosis, we're sinking kind of more into the scoliosis. So as you say, the core work is really, really important to be able to hold ourselves upright, right? Because otherwise you're just kind of
and also for the pain, I find that usually the pain when it comes to scoliosis, it's like this is the only way that the scoliosis can communicate with us. So if I'm having pain, this means that I did something that aggravated the pain. So I tried to find how, maybe I was sitting wrong, maybe I was walking, pressing on one foot more than the other, leaning towards one side. So I tried to find the source of the pain and try to do some stretching to like counter the effect of that sitting posture, that sleeping posture. Because sleeping is very important as well, how you sleep.
Yes, it's all the things that we do. You know, some people always go on about the half an hour of yoga that they do during the day, but what about the rest of the time, right? The as you say, the sitting, sleeping position, you know, how you sit at your desk. I just got myself a standing desk actually, because, you know, then it makes me move around a little bit more. You know, standing or whatever you do, obviously. So Shalina is asking, muscle fatigue is an issue in severe scoliosis. Any advice to avoid that? And maybe you can talk a little bit about this as well, because so if I bring, I'm trying to hop in between, but your Xray, it's very much a thoracic curvature, isn't it, with a little bit of a compensating curve in the lumbar, but really your main curvature is a thoracic, isn't it? So for you, I would imagine in terms of balance, you have to work much harder than, for example, me, where my upper curve, my lower curve, they are quite balanced in itself, right? So overall, I'm probably structurally kind of set up, whereas for you, this is kind of pulling you over to one side. So maybe you can tell Shalina how you would manage this when you get tired, you know.
Yeah, when I get tired, I just choose like one restorative pose. One of the poses that really helped me to relax and relax the muscles mainly. And one of my favorite poses is the supported fish pose. Because it helps me to open and really, like, I feel like someone is stretching my muscles. So I think it depends from one person to another. So you have to try and you have to find what works for you, what makes you more relaxed, and you have to really. I don't know about any other sports, but for me, I can't really call yoga sports, but anyway, the physical aspect of yoga is that the more you practice, you start to listen to your body, you start to really understand it, and the more you stay in the pose, you start to really connect with your breath and connect with how you feel in this pose. So the more you practice, the more you'll be able to understand your own body and understand what your body needs and what is making this muscle fatigue.
Yes, absolutely. Kind of becoming your own detective, really. It is detective work, isn't it? And it is trying out a few different things as well, isn't it? It's it might not, you might not find the right thing straight away. It's definitely a journey.
Definitely, yes.
Good. So we've got Ahmed, I think. I have lumbar scoliosis, but recently I got a disc prolapse, which is causing spinal stenosis. Any advice? So stenosis, this is something that obviously comes up quite, it comes up quite a lot with lumbar scoliosis, especially from a certain age on. And, you know, I would always, my first instinct is always elongation, right? Create space. And whenever I hear about compression of nerves and causing these problems, I would work on elongation. Any thoughts from you?
I would definitely agree with what you say, and usually also sometimes because of the scoliosis and the rotation, you would have the anterior tilt of the pelvis on one side, which causes the lumbar to become more compressed on one side than the other, because the lordosis is more deeper than on one side than the other. So I would work on trying to not correct, but really work on the muscles that are very tight in the hips to stretch it and try to bring this hip a little bit down to try to create a little bit of space, which is mainly what you said in the lumbar spine on the side that has the curve. Which is probably,
yeah, absolutely. Good. Laura saying I'm 65. No way, Laura. And one of my hardest issues is how remain stand up for long periods or sitting without changing positions all the time. Yes, so I think we can sympathize with this.
Yeah, I think it's standing up for a long time or sitting for a long time without changing position. It would be hard for anyone. Maybe especially for scoliosis, because the way you're sitting is helping the curve. It's not actually working on the imbalance. So maybe you find something to sit on or find different positions.
Yeah, and this is interesting because I asked a physio before if it's worth getting like one of these wobble cushions, right? I don't know, the soft cushions where you're kind of having to move a little bit. And she said to me, it's quite gimmicky. There's no point really, because whatever your habit is, you will fall into it if you sit for long periods of time, right? So she was saying, the only way really, or the only thing that you can do is get up and move around, and don't worry about finding the, obviously a good chair helps, but it's much more important to keep moving around. We're not designed to be in one position, right?
Yes.
We should be moving around. Good, lovely. We've got Hend helped me a lot with back disc degeneration due to age. I was about to stop practicing, but she made a big difference in my case. I'm currently able to carry on with my practice. Thanks, Hend. Ah, lovely testimonial here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, yoga is, and I'm calling it yoga because this is how we started, obviously, and that's how we kind of found our way in. But to me, you can give it whatever name. It's practicing with awareness, right, and with listening, as you say, taking the time to really understand your body and listening what's going on. Good. Okay. So any advice or any tips maybe for people who have just been diagnosed with scoliosis?
And to, as you said, never stop moving. Because, with scoliosis, you need to build muscles. With scoliosis, you have to stay strong, because the muscles are the ones that will carry the curve. So if you stop moving and you don't do anything about it, eventually it will get worse, and eventually the curve will progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is a good point as well. So talking about this, and I've just done a very very intensive course with the ladies from SSOL about spinal conditions and about scoliosis, and they were talking about the curve progression and the prognosis of curve progression, basically. And there's all these statistics and these graphs, and there's basically now, and that's what doctors say, right, that anything from kind of 40 degrees upwards, Cobb angle of 40 degrees, will progress at least 1 degree every year. Now, we know from you, definitely, if that was true for everyone, a curve like yours, would it kind of progress? Well, in my opinion, it would progress quicker, right? If that was correct. So really, I don't know where you would be right now if this was true. But if I bring it back, obviously, it hasn't changed at all, right? it's maybe gotten a little bit better. I would say there's a bit like the neck is definitely a little bit better up here, and yeah, maybe the lumbar spine as well, but it definitely hasn't gotten worse, right?
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah. And maybe, and maybe you talk to us about this as well, like, because when was the first time you saw your X-ray?
Yeah, the first time I saw my X-ray, it was when I was 11 years old, and I was like, I don't want to see it again. Yeah. And then I saw it. I did it before the course before we met, and I remember I showed it to you, and you told me, no, this is not, because when I first discovered the scoliosis, it was 40 degrees, and then, or I don't know actually, because it was also measured here, so I don't know if it was accurate, but it didn't seem as progressing as it was now. But because I ignored it for so long, this is how it seems. But the good news is I think it hasn't changed a lot since it reached the maximum, and hopefully it doesn't. If I keep on moving, hopefully it doesn't get better. It doesn't get worse. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are giving a lot of people a lot of hope by being brave and by showing this as well, to other people, because I think this is really important. And sometimes people get so caught up on an X-ray and the way that because that can be scary, right? When you see it and you think like, oh my goodness, how am I actually walking around? with the spine like this, and people who have got very mild scoliosis get terrified, right, about this little curvature. So how is it with someone who has got a severe scoliosis as well? And then when you kind of put those two together and you go from, this is what the X-ray looks, and then this is what the person is actually looking, and seeing you as a healthy, beautiful lady, what is more important, right? Is it the look of the X-ray, or is it the person, right? Is it you, how you move and how you feel?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So with yoga and with the practice, it's how you're breathing, because breathing has improved, and how you're managing your day without how you manage the pain even. This is what's important for me. So the X-rays and the numbers, they're not as important as how you feel and how healthy you feel you are.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Any other advice or anything else you would like to share, or you would like people to know?
I think that's
you feel like I think it's been super inspiring, I think, and
thank you.
Yeah, how can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? What's the best way of maybe taking your classes or working with you?
They can reach me out on my email or on my Instagram account. And I think you have the website mentioned already in the description under this.
Yes, absolutely. And do you do any group classes? Do you do online classes?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna be starting in January doing online classes for scoliosis on weekly basis, and I will do like a workshop once a month, because I think this workshop is important, because for me, when I started doing yoga for scoliosis, actually I got the DVDs like back in 2013, and I played them and I couldn't understand what's happening. It's like
Elise Browning Miller.
Yes, Elise Miller. And I couldn't see, it was a great DVD, but I couldn't get any good out of it because I didn't understand the terms. So when I did the introduction with you, and when I did the home practice workshop that you did, the 4 weeks.
Practice transformation, it's called nowadays. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, you give like an introduction to how you assess your curve and how to know and what's convex from what's concave and all of that. And this really helped me. So this is what I usually do, is like I introduce people what is scoliosis and what are the muscles that are affected by the scoliosis, in order for you to understand your own curve, so you can attend any yoga class or any yoga class for scoliosis and understand your own adjustments, or understand what it means that if you have right thoracic move your you have to really know what's happening to follow.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this educational part is so important, right? And it's such a big part of it, to be able to start kind of changing your practice up, and really making it work for you, rather than the other way around, you working for your practice.
Exactly. Yes.
Good, lovely. Thank you so much. There's lots of love for you here in the comments. I can show you a few. Thank you. Would you kindly share with us the Instagram of Hend? I think it's in the description, Ahmed. But it's yoga _with _
Hindus.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So if someone is there, you can put it in the comments. Please feel free to do that. Otherwise, you'll find it in the description underneath as well. Good, lovely. Thank you so much, Hend. This was
Thank
great.
You for your time.
Very, very inspiring. I think people got a lot out of it as well. And stay on for a bit while we say goodbye to everyone. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.